Welcome to Australia's Crown Melbourne, where the world's top poker players have gathered to play in the Southern Hemisphere's premier poker tournament. This is the Aussie Millions. Last week at our exclusive cash game, the chips were flying and a table loaded with star power. Patrick Antonius forced the action, caught some cards, and raked in nearly $200,000.
You can't win if you don't gamble.
And a familiar face couldn't resist the game.
Am I the best cash game player?
He's raising another $18,000 with 6 high.
You are very good, man.
I get the job done.
He loves to play big pots. I would say he's a very tough opponent.
And when these two get together, monster pots seem to follow.
We end up clashing a lot in a lot of big hands because it's hard for either one of us to fold against the other.
I hate to lose pots. It's going to be very exciting today.
Tonight, poker's biggest names continue to mix it up with over $1 million on the table. This is the Aussie Millions Cash Game Invitational. We come to you from Australia's beautiful Crown Melbourne, the home of the 2008 Aussie Millions. Tonight's action's about to get underway. I'm Barry Tompkins alongside the professor of poker, Howard Lederer. Howard, let's meet the players.
Well, in Seat 1, we have Patrick Antonius, the Finnish phenom, one of the best young players in the world, and our big winner last week.
In Seat 2, the man who many consider to be the best poker player in the world right now, Phil Ivey.
And at C3, we have Masa Kagawa, an amateur from Japan. He's already survived one scare. He lost his first buy-in, but doubled up late last week.
Tony G, the Australian, is in Seat 4. He won the Euro Poker Championship in 2005.
And you've got Chris Ferguson, along with those 5 bracelets. He won the 2008 National Heads Up Championship.
Gus Hansen is our returning champion from last year's Aussie Millions main event.
And John Jawanda, he's a 3-time WSOP bracelet winner and one of the best all-around players in the world.
And finally, in seat number 8, Eliel Ezra, a millionaire Vegas businessman who plays in many of the world's biggest games. Let's take a look at the standings. Patrick Antonius sits atop the field right now with a gain of just under 185,000 Australian dollars. And maybe Ezra was looking depressed because he's lost nearly $130,000 of his own money in this high-stakes cash game.
Well, Barry, the cards are in the air. We've got Jawanda straddling. That means he's doubled the big blind to 16, but he is live to raise.
Eliel Ezra going to call.
Okay.
Ivy folds. The action folding around to Tony G now.
Tony G calling with an ace-jack. We saw him willing to limp last week with just about any 2 cards.
Ferguson throws it away. Now Gus Hansen. An 8-4 from the big blind. He'll call for 800 more.
Action continuing much like last week. People willing to limp in with a lot of hands. In this deep stack format, if you catch the right flop, you might really get paid off.
4 players to the flop. Ace 10-3 on the flop. 2 hearts.
Big flop for Tony G. Top pair with a jack kicker, but Eliel Ezra's flopped a flush draw and leads out.
Makes it $4,000 to go on. And Tony G going to raise to $14,000.
Well, he's going to take his stand. He knows that he may not have the best hand, but he wants to find out where he's at. Eliel Ezra just calls. Tony G with the best hand so far.
On the turn, a queen of clubs, no help. Ezra checks, and Tony G makes it $25,000.
Well, Tony G keeping the pressure on. He's going to force Ellie to really pay to try and hit that flush draw. But I don't think Ellie's in a mood to really start laying down here. He's already down over $128,000 going into this hand. He's probably not getting the right price to call. No, he does fold. Nice lay down, showing some patience here, even though he's down.
So Tony G will win $35,600 in that pot, and Ezra gonna go walkabout, as they say here in Australia.
Well, Ellie making a great choice to blow off some steam away from the table instead of at the table.
The rules: the game is no limit Texas Hold'em. Players can buy in for any amount and come and go as they please. And each chip representing an actual Australian dollar amount. That's currently about 90 cents to the U.S. dollar. The chip values ranging from $100 to $25,000. That's that white tile worth 25,000 Australian dollars.
Patrick Antonius already collecting quite a few of those.
Are we waiting for Ellie?
He might have gone for a big walk.
It looks like both Ellie and Masakagawa have left the table, so we're going to be playing this hand six-handed.
Remember, you don't have to play when you're playing cash game. In a tournament, these players would be getting dealt in and blinded out.
Patrick Antonius suited 10-9. And he's going to raise it to 2,500.
One of the few hands so far where someone hasn't straddled.
Tony G going to call this after Phil Ivey folded. Chris Ferguson folds. So does Hansen.
Well, pretty strong drawing hand so far.
So Jawanda will call. 3 players to the flop. And here is the flop. Ace, Queen, 10 of diamonds.
Wow. I've only had 2 royal flushes in my career, Barry. This is a very rare hand. Obviously, Tony G with the nuts and no possible way of losing this hand unless he should somehow misread his hand and fold.
You had a big look like you're going to bet.
And it's been checked around to Patrick. And he checks his bottom pair.
I check.
And so does Tony.
Well, of course, he's going to give his opponents a chance to maybe catch up a little.
And he catches a 9 of diamonds here.
Well, Patrick has 2 pair now. If it comes a 9 or a 10 on the river, he could get in trouble with a full house. Jawanda still with a pair and a straight draw, and Tony G's going to continue slow playing.
Queen of clubs.
Well, Jawanda made trips, but of course, he loses to any diamond. Needless to say, Tony G has better than that.
6,000 to bet from Tony G.
Jawanda gets away from his hand. And, of course, Patrick can't possibly call. Well, he's thinking about it, maybe.
And he folds.
Pretty sick one. That's sick.
Oh.
I got a shot at.
Wow.
What are the odds to flop that?
I had trips.
Sick. It's not often you can flop a royal flush.
So Tony G flops the rarest hand in all of poker, but he can't get paid off. Aussie Millions Cash Game Invitational. Coming back.